here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. Well, I'm here for part 5 in my preparedness testimonies. And what these are about is that I have different people that are sending me their different testimonies of how they got into preparedness without spending a lot of money, or how being prepared for whatever life may throw their way helped get them through some difficult times, whatever they may be. And remember, it's not all about some major catastrophic event that may or may not ever happen. It's really about the everyday life things that can happen to anyone at any time. So I've only got 2 testimonies to read today and my folder was empty, but if you've sent me one and you're wondering why I haven't read that, just keep in mind any of these videos like this were shot about 4 weeks prior to the actual publication date. So it may be sitting in my folder now waiting for my next one. And so I'm going to share these and then I'm going to share just a few of my own to finish it out. So the first one, I have always hated shopping, especially when I had 5 homeschooled boys ages newborn to 9 who despised it as much as I did. Oh my goodness, can I not agree with that more? Which is one of the reasons I personally started stocking up, was to save me having to go to the store all the time. As basically a one-income family based on seasonal construction in Western Washington and living in the country outskirts area that had frequent winter power outages, again, sounds very familiar, and we are also in Western Washington, and tree-blown road blockages, yep. I quickly learned how to stock up on and use essential scratch cooking basic ingredients that my grandparents taught me by telling. Wisdom passed down by our elders. Some people forget that's an important thing. This is why we need our elders. Because our only vehicle was a gas-guzzling Suburban and I had to schedule to use, helped me experience my dream of only shopping every 2 months to replenish my larder. It was an all-day thing, going to different stores for best prices in the alternate reality of big city Tacoma. Ew. No offense to Tacoma living people, but ew. And I learned how to bribe my boys with special shopping day lunches, still healthy, and an hour at a park midway to get their energy out. I learned to can and dehydrate from elderly neighbors who needed their fruit or nut trees harvested and deadfall cleaned up. I had boys and lots of energy, and they would give my boys respect, education, and spoilings when they owned up to earn. And as a portion of the usable harvest, I would preserve first what they wanted for themselves and trade for their kindness. They taught my kids and me lots of things my grandparents didn't have the time or current ability to do when I was younger. A tip for folks: maybe post a notice to help in community senior centers and local churches. In my experience, old folks are a wealth of info and fun, and through each other's efforts, a fuller pantry for each. I adore this story. Now, keep in mind, when I read these things, I've read through them for the first time. This is like a live reading. So I hadn't read this prior, but I love this story. I love the importance it's putting on our senior citizens, because in a day and age when they're just, being seen as they're not worth anything and basically being eliminated, we need these kind of stories. The Bible talks about the hoary head, the gray hair, and these people are just important to our community, to our country as our youth. And there's a lot of value in there. There's a lot of wisdom, and that is what that gray hair stands for. I guess I'm partially wise. So I'm getting there. Okay, next one. My preparedness testimony begins in an elderberry search on the interwebs. Way back in 2007, 2008, I was very interested in elderberry syrup I could buy in the drugstore, and oregano oil and star anise tincture I could find online to stave off the impending flu pandemic. Was it swine or bird? Or I can't recall. I bought Sambuca from the local drugstore regularly. Around 2016 or so, I made my own elderberry syrup from dried elderberries sourced from the internet, typically from European source, not American. Fast forward to 2019 when my father bought a house that had wild elderberry growing near a creek, Gulf Coast of Mississippi, far away from the roadside. I watched many videos on YouTube to learn how to process my own elderberry juice and then elderberry syrup. From there, I pulled the string, as it were, and learned about other topics such as homesteading and preparedness. The topics were interrelated, absolutely. In a nutshell, the types of folks who made elderberry syrup were also the type of folks who put food up and other preparedness type focus. So I do actually make elderberry syrup too and have my own recipe. I always make it from dried elderberries, whether it be ones I've purchased in the past before we got our own black elderberries. And I'll have a video on that I'll link to in the description box down below. But yeah, we do grow our own elderberries now. You can also use elderflower. But you don't want to simmer it like you do the berries. I don't have a grandiose or terribly impressive story other than on YouTube. I have found like-minded folks who source their health and nutrition in responsible ways and methods that I can learn from and adopt. Often, I don't have the same health concerns, but perhaps they do. But they present their information in such an intelligent and learned way that I deliberately follow them just in case. I get that. Lastly, I'm on the MS Gulf Coast and in hurricane country. I regularly prepare for hurricane season, making sure I have nutrition set aside that needs no heat or refrigeration. God bless us, everyone. Okay, great testimony. Thank you. And you know, there's just so many ways that we all get to this point, and I think her story is very similar to mine. Though I was already putting up food, like with the first lady, putting up food just to save me having to run to the store all the time and basically having my own little grocery store here. That was my main purpose. But then when I really started getting serious about health and taking our health back and getting away from the allopathic medicine and even getting ourselves off of thyroid medicine, which that was 12 years ago that we did that, it was that same time, it was kind of the same thing. You start looking into this stuff and you start thinking about the importance of growing this stuff yourself so you always have it when you need it. And then it just kind of builds and grows from there. Now I'm going to share just a few quick ones that I've shared before in other videos about our own preparedness. And one of them goes back to 2020. Now, I'd already had my YouTube channel for about 4 years at this time, and it was right in the middle of all that nonsense going on. And it just so happened our old washing machine that we'd had for I don't even know how many years, it was a great front-loading Maytag washing machine. And Patrick had repaired it a few times, actually even did videos on it. And then finally, it was just done. It had just, there was nothing. I mean, he tried so many different things, tried to repair it, and it just, never could get it working again. So we needed a new washing machine. But because it was 2020, we did get one ordered up, but it took 6 weeks to get it in. So that means I had 6 weeks that I had no washing machine to wash my clothes with. But by this time, because I think it was 2016 or 2017, we had Patrick built the frame, but we had made our own off-grid laundry setup. And 2 of the items were vintage and one is now antique items that I found on eBay, one being our wringer and the other one being the agitator. And then Patrick bought the tubs brand new. He has a whole video series on how he built this, how he built the frame, what he did to the tubs, because he had to drill holes and put drains in the bottom of them so that I could easily drain them out with a hose. And I have a video, by the way, on how I use that thing. And it was a definite blessing to have that. The reason we put that thing together, and after he got it all together, I did immediately start using it so I could get myself familiar with how to use it in case I ever needed to do that. And I'm really glad I did, because then when 2020 came, I absolutely needed it, and it was a blessing to have that. So preparedness, again, I will state, does not have to be about any major crisis that's some global thing or whatever. It can be just something that affects you and your own household, such as having a washing machine break down and having it take 6 weeks to get a new one. You don't want your laundry piling up for 6 weeks, and I don't have time to be running to the laundromat and really don't want to. So being able to do it from home, and we already have a system to hang up our clothes both inside and outside the house, and so it's all ready to go. Because that I've been doing for like, I think 25 years-ish, hanging the clothes either outside or inside in front of the wood stove. So that's nothing new. That's one of my favorite stories to share because it's so very realistic. Because things like washing machines, refrigerators, and whatnot can just break down at any time. It doesn't have to be some big power outage. But with that in mind, power outages are very common. When you live in a place that has tall trees and in the wintertime when there's very little solar power, you get a lot of windstorms that take out the power. And so with very low solar power collection, especially when you live in a place like ours that is almost constant cloud cover, especially through the winter, solar power collection is very, very minimal, so we can't depend on that. So we have to have other things to fall back on. In fact, we just had another power outage. Of course, it's not winter anymore, so that was great. Plenty of solar power. We didn't have to use a generator of any kind to run our fridge or freezers because they're already running on the solar power this time of year. And same thing with all of our string lights that I use predominantly for our lighting through our house. This time of year, all of it gets plugged into solar power. So we can do that because power outages happen all through the year, but most commonly in the winter. But, this is why we have things like lots of oil lanterns of various kinds and gas lanterns and LED candles and wax candles. And I cover this in so many other videos. So if it's the middle of winter and I can't depend on our solar power, then I can fall back on all these kind of things for our lighting sources. And then we have our wood stove for cooking and making our coffee and making our tea and heating the house and drying the clothes. Oh, and heating water so that we can take a warm cup bath. We have a big pot. We put the hot water from the wood stove into the pot, add some cold water to it, and then we can just keep a big cup in there, and that's what we basically rinse ourselves with. And especially if it's an extended power outage and we don't know, when it's going to come back on to get our hot water heater running again, because we don't have the on-demand hot water tank. We keep thinking about getting one, but we just haven't got to that point yet. So, and then another way that I stay prepared is just like I said at the beginning of this video, I have my Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday videos, full-length videos that you see. All of them were shot anywhere from 3 as much as 6 weeks prior. Why? Because that's the way I stay prepared. So I've always got videos ready to publish for those 4 days out of the week. The Monday videos are my this and that videos that I shoot a few days prior to the publishing, so I can keep things a little more current and give updates and stuff. But one of the reasons I do this is so I can stay prepared in case of any life event that happens, such as in 2019 when my mother passed away, and I wasn't wanting to make videos during that time. And there was a lot going on, obviously, and I could take a break from video making. And so when that happened, that just made me want to stay ahead of my videos at all times, because you never know what life's going to throw your way. And sometimes maybe I just want to take a break for a week or two, just have my own little vacation. And I can do that and not have to worry about it. I'm still going to have these videos publishing. So that's just another way. My little bank of videos, that's another way I stay prepared. And that's both on Rumble and on YouTube. So regardless of which place you watch me at, those videos are there ready to publish. So anyway, there's my quick little stories right there. I know I've shared before, but thought I'd throw them out again, especially if I've got any new followers. And if you're interested in any more of these kind of stories, again, this is part 5, so I've got 4 more before this and more to come because more people should be sending me stories. So if you're wanting to share your own, whether it be you got there on a budget or a testimony of how it was there for you, then please send your email as preparedness testimony as in the title to raincountryhomestead@gmail.com, and I will drop it in the appropriate folder, and then I'll read it basically live on camera, editing out all my mistakes because I keep reading it wrong. Yeah, that happens because I'm human. So we can keep this series going because I'm loving this series, just like my natural healing testimonies. And also I have playlists on preparedness of various different playlists that have to do with preparedness, whether it be food storage or just whatever. And I'll link to at least one or two of those down below in the description box. So don't forget to click on more or show more somewhere below video screen down here to open that and find all the links I'll be putting there in. And thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.